Here is a Lake Breeze branded 16-inch oscillating stand fan. This is an SMC or Medea product from the 2000s, mid-2000s. No, it is not a recalled model. None of the 16-inch models were recalled. Are they designed safely? I don't know. That's up for debate, but that's a whole different conversation. They're not recalled. Let's take a look at the informations. This is the Lake Breeze stand fan, model SG16B3, 0.45 amps. Now this is still branded Shell Electric Manufacturing Company, made in China. There's a lot of ambiguity about when did SMC morph into Medea, or did Medea buy out SMC, or did SMC buy out Medea? I really don't know exactly how that whole thing works. In fact, I don't even really have any idea. The UL sticker is dated 11/02, and then it says February 2004 below it. I was recently told that this date on the UL sticker is not the date of manufacture, but the date of when the certification was issued. And what I don't know is how long after that certification is issued can it be applied to the product that's being manufactured. I would imagine that there has to be some kind of retesting after a couple of years, because some components are going to have to vary due to supply and so forth. So most likely this was sold in the summer of 2004 if it was made in February of 2004. If that's what that means. Potential safety concerns aside, these were arguably some of the last really good bands we saw. There weren't a whole lot of products sold after the early to mid 2000s that were really decent. Medea seems to be, even to this day, the best brand for the cheap era, which I would consider to be like the late 2000s and onward. You could still find some decent products in the 2010s, but they were definitely quite far and few between. So I was really ecstatic to find this, even though this is a fairly run-of-the-mill fan. Back in, I want to say it was 2018 or 2019, I had found an oscillating desk fan in the trash near where I worked at the time, which was in a flaky area. And that fan had been painted, which was kind of odd. The guard and the badge were painted over, and it was more or less an SMC or Medea fan. And I just remember it was like it was one of those ones I vividly remember finding, because wasn't expecting it. It just showed up one day, and I just enjoyed finding it, and I used that fan a lot in the bedroom at the old location. And then I always wondered what the brand was, and then a couple years later I found an identical one, and it was branded Lake Breeze. And now, quite a few more years later, I have found its larger brother in the pedestal form factor. So here it is, the Lake Breeze pedestal fan. I suspect that this is a pretty reasonably powerful fan, probably decent quality. I know when you go back to the 90s, the SMC pedestal fans seemed to have a variation in performance. Some of them seemed to be pretty strong, and then some of them not so much. So while I expect this to be good, I suppose there's a possibility that it's not. Looks to be very low hours. If it's been used, it's been cleaned. There's really like almost no detectable dust on it whatsoever. A little bit of dust in the motor, but not much. Even the plastic still has like a shine to it. The blades don't appear to be warped. I don't see too many SMC blades warping, but some definitely are, unfortunately. Alright, let's get this plugged in and test it out. There's something kind of wonky going on with the cord. I don't even know how this comes to pass. What the heck? Never seen a cord wrap like that before. I don't understand how you even do it. And of course now it's all messed up with memory and it's bent and kinked. This is probably similar internally to that Cool Breeze one I found recently. The control box is kind of similar in appearance. It's only rated for 0.45 amps, which is not much. So let's see. We're testing at 117.4 the volts. We're filming here in the garage in a new location. I thought that having all the air conditioners in the background would make for a cool video background. Especially for a large fan like this. Okay, let's begin on the low. The only problem with filming in here is the lights are very loud. Some people, I guess, like that noise. I'm not in that category, but when you're trying to hear the fan, it's kind of annoying. I'm going to turn the oscillation off. Low. Huh. The bearings are dry. Was not expecting that. And the articulations are busted. I wonder if it's something simple. I'm not sure why it's like that. Well, hopefully that can be repaired, or maybe it's for the better. Alright, the power consumption information is as follows. 0.31 the amps, 32.2 the watts, with a power factor of 0.88, which is kind of low for a PSC. And the balance, reasonable. Not perfect, but it's reasonable. The performance is, let's see, it's pushing it across the room pretty good. I can feel it all the way across the room here. It's pretty quiet. I would have expected a little more from an SMC though. There are some theories. Some people claim that the 16-inch models used the same motors as the 14-inch model, or the 12-inch models rather, but with a larger capacitor to get a little bit more power out of it. I don't know if that's true or not, but there were I remember reading a bunch of reviews back in the day of the 16-inch model, and people would report a lot of things like the motor smelled like it was burning, it seemed underpowered, it got really hot. And so these are all kind of things that would support that theory. This is kind of operating like it's running on a 12-inch motor. It's running kind of slow. Let's try the medium. That is 0.34 the amps, 35.9 the watts, with a power factor of 0.9. It's okay. It's not as powerful as I was expecting. It definitely seems kind of sluggish. Let's try the high. Alright, that got going pretty good. That is 0.37 the amps, 42 the watts, with a power factor of 0.95. Now 0.96, now 0.95. It's respectable, but it's kind of average. Usually I put SMC into the kind of above average category. Now, 0.37 amps is not a lot of power. 0.35 amps is a pretty standard rating for the 12-inch models. And the slightly lower power factor would suggest that the capacitor might not be the best pairing with the motor. So, just from observations of the power information plus the performance of the fan, I could potentially believe that this is the same motor used in the 12-inch models, but overdriven with a larger capacitor. That's a possibility. I don't know if that's the case. I've never looked at the motor inside of this before to tell, but it's kind of behaving in such a way that I wouldn't find that unfathomable. I think that's within a possibility. I can feel it all the way across the room, but I don't know, it's not as strong as I would have expected a 16-inch pedestal to be. Now granted, it is 2004, so we're past the era of really strong high performance fans. I guess it's about right. But the power information definitely raises some questions. Oh, how's the balance? Yeah, it's noticeably out of balance. Not anything, worse than what's typical, but not as good as some others. These used steel bearings, so the spin down tends to be pretty good, as long as they're adequately lubricated. This one seems like it could use some lubrication.